This is the Norris Group's Real Estate Investor Radio Show, the award-winning show dedicated to thought leaders shaping the real estate industry and local experts revealing their insider tips to succeed in an ever-changing real estate market. Hosted by author, investor, and hard money lender, Bruce Norris.
On Friday, October 21st, the Norris Group proudly presented its 9th annual award-winning black tie event, I Survived Real Estate. An incredible lineup of industry experts joined Bruce Norris to discuss perplexing industry trends, head-scratching legislation, and opportunities emerging for real estate professionals. Proceeds from the event benefited Make-A-Wish and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This event would not have been possible without the generous help of the following platinum partners: Housing Wire, Property Radar, the Apartment Owners Association, the San Diego Creative Real Estate Investors Association, Invest Club for Women, MVT Productions, the San Jose Real Estate Investors Association, Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, Think Realty, and White House Catering. Visit isurvivedrealestate.com for event information and tickets.
Do you feel like there's going to be that attitude in the next few years to fix the fiscal problem?
I personally hope so. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that monetary policy has failed to get us going again, and it's got to be fiscal policy. I think there's some easy things to do that aren't even maybe a problem across the aisles if they can at least sit in a room together. We've got, I think it's $2 trillion in corporate cash offshore. That they can't bring back because of taxations. We've talked about a holiday bringing that back or whatever. And unfortunately, I can't attribute this. This isn't my idea, but I can't attribute it. But bring that $2 trillion back, no tax, but require that they invest 15% of it in infrastructure bonds to rebuild infrastructure. $300 billion of infrastructure improvement, would be an example of a fiscal policy that I don't really see being, and bringing all that rest of that cash back to the U.S. and U.S. companies. I mean, I think there's plenty of things we can do, and there's lots of opportunity there, and I think it's really sad that we're not having more conversation about that. In all these debates, we haven't really been talking about the fact that monetary policy's failed and what can be done on the fiscal policy side and what are the ideas there. And I mean, that's the conversation we should have heard in these last 3 debates, not anything else that we heard.
Yeah, I agree. I personally feel that the current and contingent liabilities that we face are actually the biggest danger to the economic future of the company. It's not an external threat. It's an internal threat, our inability to address what are essentially unpayable commitments. And to the point about monetary policy not working, it's actually working against that in that it's undermining pension earnings and insurance company earnings and those things. So there needs to be a rebalancing of monetary and fiscal policy, and it would be great to hear some adult discussion.
Now, so entitlements. Now that word is aggravating to me, to be honest with you, because I don't like ever feeling I'm entitled to something. That really aggravates me, because I don't feel like that. When someone has worked all their life and they paid into Social Security, is that entitlement? Seems like the wrong word. It seems like a freebie. If I have the wrong definition? But the math, how does the math work for Social Security and for Medicare?
Actually, Social Security is the easiest one of the entitlements to fix.
Okay.
All you have to do is adjust the actuarial age at which you can achieve benefits. You can do that over time, and you can make it solvent for 75 or 100 years. That's actually easy. It's just the dogmatic political issues that stand in the way of that. Medicare and Medicaid, those things are much, much different.
And how would they be solved? Even if it's painful, it's always better to do it earlier than later, right?
But there's no political upside to doing it earlier versus later. And
Well, it's funny. Well, one of the years I said something about people making the last statement. It was on a panel, and I said, and I think I'll say that again this year, I wish for 1 year everyone would not be a Republican or a Democrat. They would be an American.
We had 1 year like that, 2001. It certainly felt that way for a few months after 9/11.
Yeah, it definitely did.
I think that's the thing I'm most excited about this election, though.
You're excited about this?
Yeah, I am. You got to find the good in everything. And, so I sit with my, 14-year-old and we watch the debates and the rest. And he's like, why are these two people, running for president? And what's this electoral college? Like, it doesn't make any sense to him. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me at this point. And looking at it through his eyes, at how just crazy it is, like, I am quite confident by the time he's our age, he won't be stuck in this. Because keep in mind, when we were kids and we watched presidential debates and stuff, right, you thought pretty highly of both parties. And I think because of that, we're stuck in this thing of like, well, it's our job to pick this one or that one. There can't be a third or a fourth, right? We're still stuck in this mindset of when we were kids. My kid's not going to be stuck in that mindset. He's not going to put up with what we're putting up with.
I think that's true. I think that's true. And I also think that generation is probably the least prejudiced generation ever. I mean, they don't see color. They don't see sexual orientation. They don't see any of those things that we grew up so obsessed with. And so I absolutely agree that there's hope for the future, without question.
And I think this is the tipping point.
This is the bottom, I think.
Yeah,
right?
you have to hit it. I mean, that's the thing about change. Nobody wants change, right? In 2008, we saw lots of change, but nobody wants change. If everything's going fine, things don't change. Things have to go bad for things to change, right? So, not that you should hope for things to go bad, but when things are going bad, you should be going, yeah, things are going to change.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay.
Great point.
So we got this big deficit. We have some way to solve it. We're either going to reduce the deficit, or do you feel that real estate is a target for having some of our chips taken away? So interest rate deduction, you have a great chart that basically says that most people don't have any benefit from the interest deduction because the standard deduction is so big.
Standard deduction for a couple now is $12,600, and the typical mortgage is $200,000 a year times 3.5% is $7,000 a year. So you get out of expensive Southern California and you go to Dallas and Phoenix, and there's no kick in the pants every April 15th to become a homeowner. That was unintended consequence, I think, of low interest rates.
But is that ammunition to say it's not hurting anybody, so we're gonna stop it? I know you don't want to say policy.
Well, I don't know what they're going to do.
No, I understand that.
They've got no incentive to make tough decisions. I think that's the problem.
Okay. Get them out of there, yeah. Well, we have another opportunity.
Who do we blame? We blame the people that vote them in, which is us. So,
It's us.
So.
That's right. We get the exact candidates we deserve.
Interesting. Do we see any...
On the deductions, thing like the mortgage interest deduction, which I know is near and dear to a lot of folks in the real estate heart. If you think about our, parents and generations before us, right? You got a 30-year mortgage, you stayed in that house, you paid it off, and two policies. One, the mortgage interest rate or mortgage interest deduction, and also the 250, 500K pulling it out of your house, right? We turned people into flippers, and we turned it into being good to have a mortgage, right? Your goal should be to get rid of your mortgage so that at 60, it's going to make it a lot easier to retire. But, I talk to people and say, okay, if you're 45, you should have a 20-year mortgage. If you're 55, you shouldn't have more than 10 years left. If you're going to move up in house, don't move up into the most house you can afford with a 30-year mortgage. If you're 55, move up to the one you can most afford with a 10-year mortgage so that you're paid off when you're 55 and can have a decent retirement. And we just don't think that way anymore, and I think that's causing a lot of problems and putting a lot of stress on the economy as well.
Part of the issue is that we don't actually have a coherent national policy regarding housing. There's not a structured view socially of what should be the role of government. And working in Fannie Mae, that's near and dear every day to our experience. But for example, if your intention was to advantage first-time homebuyers in the tax code, a one-time tax credit is much more effective than the mortgage interest deduction, precisely because entry-level buyers don't itemize.
I agree with that.
And I think what would happen is if you eliminated the mortgage interest deduction, you'd see a price adjustment, and you wouldn't get the tax revenue that are estimated by the CBO you would get, because people would adjust their behavior, the consumption of housing, and move down the price scale, and you'd see prices of lower-priced houses rise as people moved in that direction, and you'd see upper, middle, and middle-class houses either stabilize or fall somewhat.
But would that be so bad?
It's a one-time adjustment that would take place.
I think the one segment of the homebuyer population we can't do without is the first-time homebuyer. Mm-hmm. I mean, every other segment is affected by the first-time homebuyer. You take the first-time homebuyer out of the equation, and everybody suffers. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that is absolutely worth exploring, a tax credit.
What's interesting about this is there's almost this falsehood of we think people move a lot, but 53% of homeowners live in the first home they bought.
What?
We just released that number last week. 53% of people live in the home they first bought.
Hard to believe.
And the other part that's interesting, we talk a lot about first-time home buyers. Do you know last year, 63% were first-time home sellers, and the majority were in the Gen X side. So you have a big, people are buying because interest rates have been low and affordability's been good for a number of years. They're getting into that house that they can have kids and expand their family, and there's not the pressure to move up. So it's fascinating how much people aren't moving, but I agree with you should think about 30 years, 20 years, 15, and at the same time, I think part of the problem with folks retiring with these big mortgages is the refinance piece, that we shouldn't be refinancing for cash, especially if we're not improving the property. It's a false loan that gets a lot of people in trouble.
My mom's 77, and I was just talking to her the other day, and she doesn't have a huge mortgage, but she does have the money to pay it off, and that money she's got it really conservative. It's like getting 0.25%. So I'm trying to get her to do something smarter with the money, but she's got a mortgage that's, at 4%, and I'm like, well, why don't you use the money to pay off the mortgage? Well, then I wouldn't get the mortgage interest deduction. And I'm like, oh, Mom. It's just because she's still spending way more, right? Anyways, it's just how many people are of that mindset that, oh, I'm getting this deduction, so therefore I should have a mortgage, and therefore I should spend double, right? So it's $300,000 mortgage because, $600,000 over the 30 years, right?
And John and I were talking that he jump in on this. Will we see an increase in reverse mortgages? That as the average net worth of people retiring is so low that if they do have that equity, are they going to have to live on it? Because if the age of Social Security continues to go up, there will be a gap in which they need cash flow.
Yeah, the typical retiree is retiring with very little savings and a lot of equity in their house. And so how am I going to live for another 20 years? Reverse mortgage. I actually think, and this would have sounded crazy until I give you an analogy, I think a lot of people are going to start renting out rooms in their house. And you would say, no way. But what else are you going to do? It's either that or you move out and you become a renter. And actually, what's going on with Uber, where we now climb in cars with strangers, and Airbnb, where we now get in homes with strangers. There's technology out there that Airbnb has 250 people that vet the landlords and the tenants to make sure you have a decent background. I think technology is going to help get people more comfortable with this, and I think it's going to hurt household formations. The biggest housing supply out there is empty bedrooms.
Wow.
Is empty what?
Empty bedrooms.
Yeah.
Empty bedrooms.
Well, and with what it costs to build now, I mean, in California, I swear, I think they're making it illegal to build. My dad, my dad, besides being a contractor, built houses besides being a professor, built houses in the summers, and his friend built these crappy dingbat houses. Yeah. Thank you, Ward. But single pane glass, no waterproofing, they leaked in the winter and all the rest. But they were starter homes, right? That's the home everybody started in. And it gave you motivation to either fix it up or move up. And we've made it illegal to build starter homes.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I just saw a statistic, something like 4.5% of builders' construction is for rentals. New construction, is that approximately correct?
I think it's less than that. There's been so much discussion about this build to rent now, and it's actually, we've studied it quite a bit. It's not very feasible. There's 2 builders I know that are doing it, and I think it totals to 50,000 housing units a year, which maybe is 4 or 5%. But I think it's been 30,000 forever, so I don't think it's increased a lot.
The big players that got involved, you had hedge fund clients, and Sean had, counted everything they bought. Are you concerned at all first of all, is there a plan to exit that inventory at some point? And if they did it simultaneously, will they become market makers?
So the big guys are not going to exit because most of them have gone out and borrowed money that's secured by these houses, and they have to have cash flow, and they're prevented from selling the houses. I'm worried about the people in this room who own 10 to 100 houses deciding, you know what, I think Riverside's going to go down in price next year. I think it's the smaller guys who could really exacerbate the downturn, not the big guys. They can't. They lock themselves in. They can't dump houses.
Well, we can't get hurt because we can't borrow more than 10 times.
but you can choose when to buy and sell, right?
I'm just kidding.
We monitor the big guys every month.
So let me ask Bruce a question. Would you be selling your houses in the next downturn, or are you going to hold them?
I've already sold stuff I have in California to go somewhere else.
Okay, there you go.
They're all like, whoa.
So he's already called a downturn, is what I just heard.
No, it's not because I think it's going to be bad, but because there was other opportunity, that's all. You guys already know what I'm doing in Florida, so come on.
Spin.
So Spin, it's your turn, huh?
That was for the first question.
That's funny. Okay. Last question. We'll have everybody respond to it. The one thing you're most concerned or excited about going forward for our industry?
Most concerned or most excited?
Or most excited about the real estate industry going forward. So you can pick and choose whatever. Sean, you want to go first?
Wow, got started down here. So I think, the thing that I love most about this industry is it really doesn't, move all that fast, right? So you and I decided to get out at the end of 2005. You had Ben Bernanke still saying it was a contained problem in mid-2007, and the rest of the world didn't wake up until September 2008. So, lots of talk right now about corrections and stuff, and lots of people saying it isn't different this time. I truly believe it is different this time. We have a completely different regulatory framework than we've ever had in our history, post-2008 versus pre-2008, when it comes to foreclosures. I don't see a lot of upside in this market, but I don't personally, I think I almost wish there was a 10 to 20% correction in California for affordability reasons and things like that. But I think, it's a pretty safe market to be out working in if you're a real estate investor, buying, flipping homes. Pay attention clearly to the market, but I think it's as good a time as ever to be in this business.
Okay.
Going in order?
Yeah, go. Might as well.
No, I think that, certainly agree with that. I think that as a long-term business investment, there's very little downside in the housing industry. I mean, the demographics basically are driving that. Short run, obviously a lot of blips, and of course there's always a risk for a catastrophic event, but I like to leave every panel by saying that the Hispanic market isn't for everyone, just for people who want to be in business in 5 years.
So I would say what I'm most excited about, being in the business 20 years, and I started with MLS books and no lock boxes, like many people did 50 years ago. And where we've come in terms of getting information to the public is where it is for us. So for me, it's transparency. The more transparency we can create throughout the entire industry for buyers, sellers, investors, consumers, the better we stage them to make really good, informed decisions. And I think that helps everyone in the process.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
I'm most concerned about when the next recession's going to hit and what's going to cause it. So that's what keeps me up at night. And we've been doing a lot of research on what has historically happened. And usually recessions are caused by some industry or industries growing way too fast and then having to pull back. And I'm looking at healthcare right now going, whoa. I mean, these biotech companies are buying each other like crazy. You and I are all getting huge insurance premiums every year, so it's all kind of falling back on us. At some point, that industry is going to have to pull back, and that's going to hurt. So that's, I don't know when it's going to happen. So that's what I'm concerned about. What I'm excited about, actually, is how fast the world is changing, and technology and all these other things. All these businesses are getting disrupted. For me, that creates opportunity for people that pay attention and are excited and work hard. So that's what we're focused on.
I'm an optimist about real estate for a very simple reason, and that is people have always lived in a structure built on land somewhere in proximity to where they worked in a structure built on land. And I don't see that changing. So I think that suggests sort of like accounting for businesses. On the side of worry, I worry about the structure of monetary policy relative to fiscal policy, and I think it could bring on those accidents that you worry about that are the short-term trouble that real estate faces.
Okay. Thank you. I want to thank everybody that's up here with me. It's been an honor to share this platform. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to be here. Really appreciate all of you joining us tonight. And thank you guys for supporting us once again. And I guess we'll probably do this again next year.
The Norris Group would like to thank its gold sponsors for supporting I Survived Real Estate, Auction.com, Coachella Valley Real Estate Investors Association, Coldwell Banker Town & Country, Elite Auctions, In a Day Development, Inland Valley Association of Realtors, Jennifer Buys Houses, Keller Williams Corona, Keystone CPA, Las Brisas Escrow, LA Green Designs, LA South RIA, New Western, North San Diego Real Estate Investors, Northern California Real Estate Investors Association, Orange County Investment Club, Orange County Building Industry Association, Pacific Premier Bank, Pasadena Phoebe, Pilot Limousine, Real Wealth Network, Realty 411 Magazine, Realty Executives Inland Empire, Rick and Leanne Rossiter, Sunoco Corporation, South Orange County Real Estate Club, Spinnaker Loans, U-Direct IRA Services, Weston South Coast Plaza, Chase Photography, Wholesale Capital Corporation, Wilson Investment Properties, Inc.
For more information on hard money loans and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For information on passive investing with trust deeds, visit tngtrustdeeds.com.